It was raining quite heavily, but those big ass raindrops. You know, like,
sorry.
You know what?
Driver.
You know what?
Wait,
Today's big raindrops, I can't drive.
Was it a tidal wave?
Hello, welcome back to the Cars Rule Everything Around Me podcast, episode number 15, with myself, Edwin Klinkenberg, William Chandler to my left, and behind the camera, Ben Rogers. Ben, say the line, please.
hello.
Very nice.
It's the same every time.
It always
It's
is.
the same.
Before we get on with the podcast, at the beginning of every single one, we ask ourselves the question whether cars rule everything around us this week, or if they ruin everything around us this week. William.
Overall rule.
Oh,
Mainly because the Range Rover video, so I bought cheap Range Rover, blah, 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 back in November. The video for that went out on our second channel, semi-recently. Everyone's like, there's a Range Rover, good luck at the side of the road. I've been fine so far. Many thousands of miles, and I'm fine. It's just chugging along, and it's perfect. So I'm taking solace in that. 350Z, no problems. Clio, we don't talk about the Clio anymore. Yourself?
it's very similar. You know, all my cars work. They always do.
There has been a Mercedes outside.
There has been a Mercedes outside for some time. So I don't know if I talked about it in the last episode or not, but the power steering hose had split, and that's why it was here. I got the line fixed, started the car up, got everything in. No, the power steering pump is dead too. So bought one of those. The parts have arrived today. There is a big bag of boxes, not a bag of boxes, a box of boxes over there, which are basically a full rejuvenation kit for that car. So whenever I get time later in the week or this weekend, I will hopefully, please have that car back up and running. I've been dating the Beat, and it got so bad that I didn't want to drive the M3 because it's now salty and slushy on the roads, and that is not good for cars. I had to drive the M3. I walked out, looked at it, and went, "I'm sorry, brother, but
Can't do it.
I can't drive the Beat another day. I can't scrape that ice off the inside of the windscreen anymore."
So winter daily, aiming for perhaps spring.
From next winter, that would be
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, and I'll sell it in May. So yes, I want that back pretty soon. But other than that, I'm actually going to say it's a rule.
Ooh.
Because we already had the ruin from the Merc.
Yeah.
But the gearbox that's just down here, if you're watching, is from our 911 that we built. I bought the car. Just over there behind me is a new gearbox.
Ooh.
It's not new, it's used. So final little bits, I'm waiting on that. And then there's a gearbox going in that car. And I have a track day booked for early to mid-February. And I want to take that car to it.
Ooh.
So,
Okay,
I'm saying it's rule because we got progress.
It's got a goal now.
There is a goal. There is a hole. So, you know.
Okay, we will say no more. Carry it to Ben.
Ben.
Rule. Nothing's happened.
Nothing's
Are they just being cars?
I think we'll get on to if nothing's happened.
No,
but
no, tell us the good things. And then
we'll
that'll
get
get us
on
on
to-
nicely to the new.
No news is good news.
But there is news.
There's not. That's the thing. I'm thinking what that could be. There's not anything.
Okay, so you're just a rule. You're just your standard run-of-the-mill rule kind of guy.
But
Been coming here 3-4 days a week in the X5. He's loving life,
Loving
apart
it.
from the fact that the wheels shake on the motorway. Not sure what that is, but fine. May bring the Clio tomorrow.
Ooh.
Every day this week,
He had,
I've been like, I'm going to bring the Clio. I've got the keys in my hand. And I get to the front door at 6:45 in the morning. I'm like, nah, it's comfy time.
not today.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not an enticing thing to want to initially
Yeah.
go out in, but it's like then you might get a nice road while you're on the X5 and go,
I wish I had him.
But then at 7:00 at night when you leave, you go, I'm glad I brought the X5.
The journey from my house to the motorway, that's great for the Clio. That's fantastic. But in the morning, it's just traffic.
He's not there.
So
He's not there.
It's left leg. Left leg is cooling, and
And you have to pick
I
up.
have to pick up.
Now, before we go any further, this is a quick shout out to our first ever sponsor on the podcast. Now,
first
we
guy.
do this kind of in our spare time. So this is nice
Very
to have
nice.
a sponsor on this podcast. And that sponsor is Carly, who have an amazing new and free tool designed for everyone, whether you know about cars or not. So kind of perfect for this podcast, really.
Yeah. So Carly gives you an idea of what's wrong with your car at home, and it helps you avoid pricey diagnostic costs. Let's face it, if you listen to our podcast, then you're probably not driving a brand new car with a long warranty.
The way Carly's new tool works is easy. All you need to do is input your car's details, tell Carly what symptoms your car is suffering with from Carly's drop-down lists, and with its 60 million plus data points combined with AI, Carly will give you potential car issues and the maximum price you should expect to pay.
So, say for example, your car has a misfire or it's idling funny, Carly might tell you that there's a problem with your mass airflow meter or maybe with your spark plugs. Carly will also tell you how much you should expect to pay in parts and labour to get that problem fixed, so that you know you won't get ripped off if you decide to take it to a garage.
So if you want to get ahead on any issues with your car, click our link in the description and check out Carly's free repair costs feature.
Now, Ben,
Yeah.
let's get the elephant out of this room.
I'm not sure there's one in here.
Some
Ben.
weekly updates. There was a going on in our car park.
There was a going on.
And we
We're not privy.
We weren't privy. We weren't told about it. We didn't see it. We weren't present.
So
Let's call it an incident.
yeah, let's
Little
paint the
incident.
picture.
I don't think anything happened.
We finished up filming after a long day, and sometimes Will and I will pack up what you see around us here, and then Ben will pack up in his little room over in the corner all of the camera equipment and what such.
That means they go home early and I stay late.
Are you joking? Are you actually joking? Are you dizzy, Ben? Right? That evening, it just so happened that we cleared up all of our parts, and Will and I were ready. And Ben said, "Don't worry, I'll stay. I'll finish up the camera equipment." So Will and I left, and Ben wasn't in the next day. So Will and I, didn't hear a peep from young Ben. And then the next day, the guys came back, and Rory walked in, and because they also work in the yard here, and Rory went, "Yeah, what happened with Ben last night?" We were like, "No." And Rory said, "Well, what did Rory say, Ben? Because tell the people what happened."
I wasn't here. Who knows?
Ben, tell the people what happened.
Just for a bit of context, we've had this debate for the last 3 days.
we don't
about
know
whether-
context.
No, about whether we actually talk about this on the podcast.
Sorry.
I don't want to.
There was never a
He's
debate.
sweating in the box.
There's never a debate.
I don't want to.
He's been brought to the court and he's sweating.
Okay, when I was leaving,
He's not beating these allegations.
I may have accidentally hurt someone's car in
Okay.
my car.
So,
A colleague's car.
Yeah.
A
so
friend.
you were driving forward back into a space.
Okay, so how would you describe our car park to the viewers?
Very, very tight, perhaps somewhat like a London car park, half the size, with 2 times the amount of cars.
So essentially, our car park is it's just a big gravel open rectangle. But
Mhm.
the way it works is we have on one side you back your car up against the units. On the other side, you back your car up against the hedge. There's like this little corridor in the middle.
Yeah.
Which is that how
Which
you
is
would
big
describe
enough
it?
to get pretty much any car out.
Yeah. Anyway, so that morning, I knew a lot of people would be in, so I thought I always get here, not usually first if I'm in. So
All right.
yeah, again,
Okay.
Here. So
actually-
we had our Corsa parked basically outside this unit behind me, and I thought I'll park nice and close to it because I'll
Yeah.
be nice and thoughtful. And then Jay, who is Alex's videographer, was in, and he parked very close. Not very close. He parked his very nice.
It's a very nice F11, really
530D.
clean. Body's
Yep.
lovely.
Not anymore. He parked that next to me. Not that close, but like how you park next to someone, I guess. And then basically we were all leaving, and I said, "I'll get the gates. You guys head off. I'll do the gates on the way out because I was doing whatever in the car."
Crashing.
And then it's just very tight. So I pulled forwards out, and it was on the cusp of needing someone to be out there to help you out. It was tight.
Do you
I'm not-
believe it was impossible?
I don't believe it was impossible, but in the context, it made it quite
Okay.
impossible.
So the long and short of it is you scraped his car.
You crashed.
Basically, I
crashed
pulled
into
out
his car.
forwards, realised this is too tight because Rory's L322, which is a long car, was directly ahead of me.
Right.
So to try not to hit his car, I thought, you know what I'll do, which is what I should have done at the start, as I'll reverse back into car parking space, I'll get the keys to the Corsa, I'll move it across into the open space where like the doors are, and then I'll drive off. Great. Reversing back, I was being so careful to not hit Rory's car, I may have accidentally dinged up the corner of Jay's car.
Right.
Which was horrible, and I hated every second.
And the worst part of it is you had to call Jay, and Jay was with Rory, Alex, Luke, Taylor, everyone. So you knew it would be in front of them.
So I knew it was bad as it is because like
But you didn't.
I'm also by far the youngest here.
But you
so
didn't tell me.
there's always this like, oh yeah, you messed up. But also it's then, so imagine you hurt someone's car, bad enough. Okay. Then every single person who's going to find out is a car person.
Yeah.
So they're all like, I'd never do that.
No,
I've never
we-
done that in my life. You're
Nah,
an idiot.
do you know what? We
And-
never said that though.
No. But
We
what's,
abused you. We have abused you.
On the
We-
phone,
we've
you
given you your
said,
penance.
have you tried reversing out of a car parking space today? To which I said, actually, I was going forwards. And you said, that's much worse.
I mean, it is kind of. But you didn't tell us. You made a conscious choice not to tell us.
Because not my first thought. My first thought was, I'm going to message Jay. But once I'd saw, to be honest with you, I couldn't actually see. because it was
That's not good. You shouldn't be driving.
No, I shouldn't. It was raining quite heavily, but those big ass raindrops. You know, like,
Sorry.
You know racing driver.
You know
No,
what?
wait.
Today's big raindrops. I can't drive.
Was it a tidal wave?
we have some very bright security lights. One of which was.
Oh, okay.
Let me just explain.
No,
right, and then you can jump in.
This
you know
On the
what?
side of where Jay's car is, one of those big security lights was shining in my face, so it made it quite hard to see when I got out of the car. I couldn't really see the damage.
Can I just ask, because you know we have the gravel drive, were you parked on the really big gravel bits? That's quite hard to come over.
Did Jay's car, was it on a big stone and it just moved across?
I'm not
ever so
making excuses,
slightly?
but I'm just explaining all the context of it.
Now, Ben didn't want to talk about this, for to be fair, some good reason. But I told Ben, trust me, as a friend. Ben said, I'm trusting you as a friend here.
Did say that.
You will come out. We will come out better on the other side of the podcast. The reason we bring this up on the podcast is I thought this might be a nice opportunity for us and the viewers to talk about some embarrassing moments.
Yeah.
Because as a car person, you're looked at with, you should know better. You're the guy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the first thing it reminded me of, I was 18. I had just got my first car. I was the first of my mates to get a car. So obviously every weekend I'm boys piling. We're going to the cinema. You know when you get your first car and you think like, we're going on road trips. We're going to the south of France. And what it turns out is, do you want to go to Tesco? Let's just go Tesco and sit in the car. And I just brought, it was my mates, 3 of my mates were in the car, and I pulled back up to my parents' house, and I just wasn't paying attention, and my parents were standing outside, and I just drove into the garage wall at about 5 miles an hour.
Nice.
Like absolutely no reason to. There was no other cars around. I just wasn't paying enough attention and drove into the garage, like into the wall, and my dad was standing next to the garage wall and just instantly started abusing me and getting angry at him. He was like, what are you doing? And it was the most embarrassing thing in the world because I'd have my friends in the back of the car who didn't drive yet, so they didn't know. They're just like, you idiot. And forever, I will overlay a photo because I went and found it after Ben told the story. Every photo of my Mark IV Golf, you can just see a small white line on the bumper where I crashed into a building. And it forever haunts me. And you, Will, because you said you had one.
I did. Well, I did crash my Alpha into a wall. I wouldn't say crash, actually. Even though I've called Ben's a crash, mine wasn't a crash, but it was a similar scrape. I'm not going to talk about that one. I will talk about, I did get a car beached at a service station.
Oh, there's video proof.
Actually footage of that. This is at previous YouTube channel, Overdrive. We did a road trip up to Scotland. I think this was on the way back, actually. This wasn't the way back. I was in an SLK 320 in yellow.
Beautiful. Lovely.
And basically, this I can't remember where it was, but this services was like fully one way. So it wasn't like, oh, if you mess up, you can just come back round and you can go and find a space. Basically, I was behind Callum and there's like this width restriction to get into the car park. And he was like, I'm not doing that. So he carried on. But if you carry on, you're getting back on the motorway going,
the wrong way.
Yeah, you're buggered, basically. So I followed him and I was like, hang on, there's just lorries everywhere and we need to stop at these services. I was like, right, sod it. Because there was a piece of road and then the road to go the other way, you're not meant to do this, was just slightly elevated with quite a big patch of grass in the middle. But I was like, this is a car. Like, this is a normal car. It'll get over that. I had Jackson, the videographer, in the car with me. I'm fairly sure I may have said, watch this.
Oh, no.
So, because Callum was stopped and I was fed up. I was like, right, watch this. And I turned quite quickly, just drove up this verge and immediately got beached. So there was just this SLK teetering in the middle of you could still hear lorries driving past looking at like, what the... Wait, how are you on it? So we had to push it back off and then just get on the motorway and just leave. That was the most embarrassed I've been because I thought, you know what, I'm normally quite good at looking at a situation and going, I'll make that gap.
Yeah,
I'll get over that. I'll do that. And I just completely miscalculated that.
So Ben, it happens to the best of us.
Well,
in the comments, drop in your experiences of a similar variety.
I've never crashed into a mate's car though.
Yeah, great. Well, what I was going to say as well, what made it worse as well is the fact that not only I didn't tell these guys at all, but I messaged Jay. Obviously, I offered to pay for it. Obviously, but I knew they were all away filming. Hence why his car was here so late. So I knew he was going to be sitting at dinner, open this message, which is not a nice message to get, and then go, oh, and then everyone go, what's that? And then they all looked, and then I found out afterwards that they'd all looked at the security footage.
That was quite funny.
Best part was the security footage for some reason didn't capture the crash, but it captured my panic, trying to see what the damage was.
They said we pulled up the security cameras and all we could see was Ben with a phone flashlight just looking at the side of his car.
Because I couldn't see because it was dark and the light was in my eyes.
You may remember this. We went to a show in like 27, Calvin's show.
Yeah.
I can't remember what car you were in, but I was in the Evo at the time. And I parked up at the show next to a very clean Laguna Seca blue E46 M3. And I parked up, it was a windy day. It was really quite a windy day. And an Evo has deceptively light doors.
Genuinely.
And I opened my door. I think it was like to get sunglasses out or something. Opened the door, and the wind took it. Only like ever so. I was holding it, but the wind took it ever so slightly. Just like the corner dinged this guy's door.
Yeah.
I panicked for a while because I was like, this car was clean.
It was immaculate. I might have a photo. I'll put it on if I can find it.
Like ultra clean. I was like, oh. I thought, hopefully that's a ding that's like it's made a bump, but there's no, it's just an impact, no damage. I looked at it, little like pin.
You could see
hole,
a dent,
like, not a hole, but like a No, I was mortified because also my Evo was like semi rough, so I was like, I don't really care about that. But this car was like,
it was it was so nice. It was really nice.
I will say, he parked closer to me. I was there first, but anyway.
Okay, sorry, wait, hang on.
But I found the organizer of the show, and I said, "Do you know who owns that car?" And he said yes, and he found that
and
guy.
Then left.
I said, do you know the owner of that car? And he went, "No, excellent, I'm off." I found the guy and I spoke to him. Blah blah blah. And he was like, "Hey, don't worry about it, not the end of the world." And then months later, the guy messaged me because I gave him my number. I said, "Look, like, let me know." I was like, "You're gonna know in the next like week or two or whatever."
Yeah.
But he literally, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. I was like, "Oh, nice. That's how I'd be about it, unless it was a mirror or something."
Yeah.
Even then, like, it doesn't really matter that much. And he messaged me. He was like, "Oh, actually, mate, I've had a look at it further with my bodywork guy. It's going to cost a lot to fix that. So can you pay?" I was like, I just told him to stick it.
Look, he said no.
There was a 1 week period on my kindness. If you got in contact within that week, absolutely.
But it feels like someone like someone's like more damage happened.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll get this guy to do it.
This for not like that. Don't take the mic.
But I remember that because you were like, I'm gonna go get my sunglasses, and then came back to the group of us, and you're like, I've done this. And the first thing you said was, "Park so close to me."
It was a windy day.
The excuses. I couldn't have any excuses.
This is true.
Also, I parked first.
Oh,
Jay, it's not your fault, mate, but I did park first.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll have to get Jay in on the podcast.
No, it's my fault, and I'm very sorry.
Okay. Well, look, Ben, I mean, I know, you might say you don't feel better, but I reckon you do.
Cars ruin everything around me this week.
Lovely. Very
Ben
good.
rules cars around him.
Ben ruins cars around him.
More updates. What have we got? There's a swear word before this one. It's about Roadworks.
Oh,
and then it leads on to the police.
And who put that in there? Who put this
the Roadworks thing?
Yeah.
That was me.
Oh, it was you with the swear word. Okay.
I have a relatively long commute to work, and it's been made much longer recently by some Roadworks. So I think it's the A43, it's like around Silverstone-ish.
Sorry, just quickly. You have an hour and 45-minute commute.
Yeah.
That's long.
Which has been extended by a further 45 minutes by these Roadworks. I just want to know, if you are Roadworks, if you are big Roadworks, if you're working for Roadworks, if you're digging up roads, making roads, doing whatever, I want to know who signs off on this. There was Christmas. You could do this at night. I don't know. Is there something? There must be something. Who said, let's start Roadworks at the beginning of January when everyone goes back to work on a quite busy road? Like, this is like to get to the M40. The M1 is kind of linked to it as well. And they went, you know what? I think we'll put another roundabout in there. And now I sit at a standstill every single morning for 45 minutes waiting for clowns to merge. So that's part of the problem. It's not all their fault, but people don't know how to merge. It goes down to one lane on both sides of the road. Right. So which way you cook it, he's burnt. He's absolutely cooked. But now that enraged me enough. Roadworks people, get at me. Explain it to me. I don't think you will, but whatever. To me, it feels like a scam. It feels like they're just spending money because they have to before the end of the year, which is horse shit. Anyway, I get out these Roadworks, and obviously the road is it's a single lane road for the Roadworks. You're annoying doing like 30 miles an hour on what should be a dual carriageway. You get out of it, it opens up, and obviously because it's the end of traffic, it's quite open. Mm-hmm. You can start to make up some time.
You've been losing time.
You can start to make up some time. You may do 70 miles an hour.
70 miles an hour.
Even downwards of 70 miles an hour. And there was a man in my way. I was quite infuriated by this man in my way. But then, like a holy angel, I looked above in the horizon. This is maybe half a mile to a mile after the roadworks ended, speed van.
That is
And bear in mind, I drive this road every single day. There's never been a speed van there.
ever.
They have put that speed van there purely to catch the people who have just come out of the roadworks,
Who are
frustrated,
now late.
who are now late, who are now annoyed, who are now red in the face and want to swear at you. And they just put that there. They must make a killing on that.
Yeah.
Because I only just heard it on Waze as well. But by the time I saw it, it would have been too late had I been
Yeah.
speeding. But I was like, that's naughty.
Yeah, that is.
I know you shouldn't be speeding, but that feels
deliberate.
shit.
Yeah.
That is like, do you know what? You're having a really crappy day.
I'm going to get them while they're
I'm going
down.
to make it even worse. Also, it can't be, people are going to grill me for this. It can't be that dangerous on that piece of road there.
No, yeah.
Like
Also,
on an
that-
open piece of road that's there. And I'm not saying let's do 140 miles an hour,
No.
but yeah, I saw it. For the first time in my life, I've had the urge to do this. I gave that police van a little shaky,
salute.
a little shaky wrist salute. I know the people in the van maybe didn't decide to do it. That's another thing I wanted to know. I thought about it. I was like, maybe the police peoples in there didn't decide that. Who decides it? Who goes, you know what? Because if they have done that, if they've gone, right, there's roadworks out on that day,
Yeah.
put a van there because you'll get the most people, that is, nah.
Yeah. That's not the
just-
purpose of what it's supposed to be
That's
there
not
for,
what it's supposed to be for.
which is safety.
that I was quite annoyed by that.
So thank you very much to, was it Ford Focus you said?
So that Ford Focus, whoever you are, who
A
knows,
martyr.
dawdling in the fast lane, in the right-hand lane, thank you. Thank you very much, my angel. And then, I was going to rant about merging, but I think I'll leave that because that's quite a long section.
We'll take that next one.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, next episode, merging.
I meant to mention, we have on the screen behind us a game that I played a little bit when I was a child. I went through the attic at Christmas and found a load of games that weren't at the front of my PS2 collection. But Ridge Racer 5 is on here. We were just discussing before the podcast. Childhood me never watched this trailer because I was always spamming the X button to get through so I could play it. Young childhood me, if you're watching, you might have seen. There would have been something to catch the attention on the screen. Hopefully, we don't get age flagged for this on YouTube. There it is. But I don't know how I missed that as a child.
Yeah, no. I don't think I ever played a Ridge Racer I played it on PSP.
On PSP,
I had a Japanese PSP, and the only game I had from Japan was a fully Japanese version of Ridge Racer. So it was only the box really, because obviously you can choose the language when you play.
there.
But it was just a great game.
Yeah, it was one of the first games other than GTA, which again shouldn't be playing as a child, but oh well. Thanks, parents, ill-advised. That had non-branded cars,
Yeah.
and I remember opening up the game for the first time, going, "What's this?
Where are real
What's
cars at?
this?" But then playing it, and going, "This is a great game."
What's happened to these car? I still think there's car games.
Well, we touched on it last week or the week before.
Yeah.
That I think car games are so optimized now that you can't make them diverse enough. Like
Yeah.
this came out probably around the same time as like Underground 2 or Most Wanted, Midnight Club 3. Like those are all car games that if you explained it to someone would sound very similar,
Yeah.
but yet had a different feel.
Mario Kart, but
And
with cars.
It's like a game with cars.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so-
that's interesting.
Ooh.
Hold on. And you drive them? You do, yeah.
Okay, but what if we could Aventador V12 swap all of the cars in the game?
Need for speed? Yes. So yeah, we've got Ridge Racer up here. And then to my side, we've got a Volk T37, which I bought for my Honda Beat, which is only here because the wheels for the Starlet, the Toyota Starlet from our YouTube series, is above us. That is being worked on at the moment. And the wheels are getting refurbished. And so we needed something to push them around on. So I'm joined by my friend here who will be going on my Honda Beat.
The old light boy.
The lightest guy in the West.
Light and small.
Very
a 14,
small.
a 13.
13 and a 14. That one should be a
13.
14.
Coaster wheels.
Yeah, we got a little coaster. We got staggered as well. Cool. I like that on some chunky meats.
Starlet Starlet we're working on right now. You would have
They would
the
have
video
seen it.
would have been out by now.
Yeah.
You
So-
also would have seen that the Corsa has
Died.
Had a wee.
Yeah.
Still weeing.
Still,
I spoke to that. I told you earlier, but I spoke to the previous owner, the guy who built it, and I asked him, I was like, "Do you ever have that? Did you ever basically build the Corsa up, the Saab swapped Corsa we got with fuel? First time we've ever fully filled it up because we're going to take it for a bit of a drive and go mapping and get a dyno figure, blah blah blah. Filled it up. About half an hour later, went to services, came out, fuel everywhere, big fire hazard. Wondering what the hell's going on. Fuel pouring out from
Really
where the
quite a
tank
lot.
is. And it's now stopped, which makes me
But you told the previous owner.
Sorry,
about
I
this.
told the previous owner, and he said, "Oh yeah, I don't know. I never actually filled it up that much."
You know what?
He's like, "I only
Smart
ever
man.
put a half tank in."
Smart man, never fill it up.
Do you know what? That could solve this problem. So that we need to have a proper look at. But the Starlet,
So, well, we shouldn't say that because it's going for mapping on Friday. So who knows what happens?
the Starlet's going all right.
The Starlet went great. It made so much power.
Yeah,
It
the
blew
Starlet's
up.
going. Oh man, that Starlet. Though.
It blew up so quickly. It was great.
That's so sad.
So you know more than us at this point listening to this video.
Ben,
Hello.
You had an update on the Clio.
Clio.
You were considering your options on him.
Well, as of right this second, that podcast from last week goes live tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I haven't actually had any offers on the Clio yet.
No.
But since then, I have had a little drive on it. Finally got it back on the road. He's got to stay.
Oh,
He's too good. I got in it, and I was like, every time it sits there, I go, "What's the point?" I get in it. I'm never selling it.
We have a little running joke now that Ben is schizophrenic because every 3 seconds he flip flops on something,
Yeah.
and the Clio is a prime example.
Yeah.
He will walk in and go, "I'm just not using the Clio. I think I'm going to sell it."
Oh,
and I go, "How much?" And he goes, "No, I'm not going to sell it."
I love that car. I'd never sell that car.
It's instant. And then you go, "Oh, it's not for sale." And he goes, "I could sell it."
It's just annoying that car. Like, I'm not using it.
It's about everything as well.
But I love it. I
There's-
keep it forever.
We have this joke that, I hate this so much, but these two will say something, and they do this thing where they call it planting a seed. They'll say it, they'll say something that they know is going to make me think, and then they'll say it casually, and then like 5 minutes later, I will obviously, because I'm thinking about it, bring it up again, and if I bring it up, they just burst out laughing.
Because it always happens.
Basically, I've got no idea what's going on in life, and this is me trying to work it out.
But as of now, unless big offers come in from
He's
the
not going.
podcast,
He's not going.
what is now the previous podcast, but someone comes in with an offer.
What's the
Two-
offer?
$2 grand,
No,
2.5 grand,
no.
2,750.
Well, we
$3
have.
grand. $3 grand.
No, no.
Well, as we said last week, my girlfriend is looking for a car, and she has actually always had an interest in 182s, 172s. So I said, "You know what, Ben? What's the price? Because I'd like that. I'd like if I could get her into a Clio 182." And so I said, Ben gave me a price, and I rang her up and said, "Right, Ben's Clio is for sale." I went, and she went, "No."
Her exact words were, "No, sorry, Ben," and then basically hung up.
Also, for the reason, of course, because it's silver and not green.
But also fair.
It's fair.
Like, there's a lot of people who will be like opportunist people who get offered that and go, "Oh, it's easy to
Yeah,
get." No,
I'll have it.
Yeah, it was it's not
No,
green.
It's not the right car.
It could be green. Halfords has paint.
Get that roller paint out. Here we go.
I could be green. Anyway. So he's sticking around.
Oh yeah, he's
for now until 20 seconds.
and when the summer comes,
It's going for sale.
no, he's being driven big.
Random little anecdote that is on the list of things to talk about today. A couple of days ago, I was coming from my house in the morning, and I was in the M3. So I'm driving a little bit more spirited, than well, maybe not than the Beat, but I have the ability to go faster. And around here, there's a load of roundabouts in succession. It's a roundabout, dual carriageway roundabout. In the UK, and perhaps Europe as well, a Seat Leon Cupra R, the first gen, like the Mark IV Golf.
Oh, that one, yeah. Wow.
A certain type of driver drives them.
Kind of Glanzer guy.
Kind of Glanzer guy,
Yeah.
kind of scumbag guy,
Yeah.
because I really wanted one when I was 18 and I was a scumbag then.
Oval pipe man.
The guy. And it was a black one, lowered, modified, not modified, but he had a little air of car guy to him.
Yeah.
And I was maybe 5 or 6 cars back, and coming into the roundabouts, that guy was sending it through these roundabouts at like 50, 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on here? So I made my way a little bit closer, got up. We're having fun through these roundabouts. It's like 8:30 a.m. I'm enjoying this. Pull up at a set of lights, and I wish I could have got a photo. It was, I'd say, a lady in her late 60s. Grey hair, like little nan spec frock on as well. Crazy.
Actually, she wasn't even like dressed. She was
No,
old dressed like an old
she was
person.
dressed like an old person,
Okay.
but and sometimes like my mum might borrow one of my cars to go down the shops,
Yeah.
but she's driving like a normal person.
Yeah.
This lady was sending it. If you're in the like Bracknell Reading area and your grandmother has borrowed your Seat or drives a Seat Leon, it was a Cupra R. It's the hot one.
Yeah.
Tell her, good job, because she was hitting those racing lines through those roundabouts.
She's a driver, bro.
It was crazy. I literally stopped at the lights, looked over, and just went, huh?
She starts doing 3 beeps.
Yeah, just.
I had a similar thing with I spotted this is in Slough where I used to live. There was a Clio 182 trophy, which is that's like someone old might stumble into a Clio 182.
Yeah,
Fine,
maybe.
because it's sort of similar, not similar, but kind of normal looking. But a 182 trophy,
That's
which is like the special suspension, it's limited edition. They're way more expensive. They're bright red.
It's like a CSL E36 M3. It's the hardcore one.
It's the enthusiast guy. I just saw one. I was like, wow, you don't see these very often anymore. Pulled up alongside, like easily woman in her 70s. I was like, okay,
just going down the shops in the Clio.
And the good thing was with Clio trophies, they're all like numbered, and you can look at them online. There's like a registry and there's a forum that's like, oh, I own number 3, number 17, number whatever. Then there's like forum threads that track where they've been. It's quite good, really. A little bit strange, but also quite useful for a sort of car like that. I thought, let me look into this. I was doing all sorts of searching. I couldn't remember the plate either. I think I just searched for like 182 trophy and then like the area.
Yeah.
And then someone said, yeah, this lives down my street or whatever, something like that. And basically, there was a guy who owned it basically when they were quite cheap, sort of like 2-3 grand, because now they've sort of doubled, tripled in value. He owned a trophy for a while, bought an S15, got into like Japanese cars.
As you do.
And then gave the trophy to his mum.
That's so good.
And now his mum has just been driving it around. As far as I'm aware, that's what I can remember the story being. But I just thought that's so good. Cool.
Yeah.
But also just the mum going, yeah, all right, I'll take the trophy. That sounds good to me. Like from what I could see, completely standard, but still like Recaro's, not the most pleasant of thing to drive every time. It's just plodding around. Just chilling. Also, I think at the time when I first saw it, I checked the MOT history and it was like only doing like 1,000 miles a year. So literally just pootling around. But doing the perfect thing. It's just using it, but not doing many miles a year. Probably not realizing it's now a 10 to 15 grand car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was quite cool. If you've ever seen something like that, let us know.
I was technically a part of that in the it would have been late 2000s, very early 2010s. My dad had owned a Camaro. I don't think I've told this story, but in the 90s before I was born, my dad had owned a TVR Camaro, and it was my mum's favorite car he'd ever owned. And obviously, a baby coming along. Can't really fit in a Camaro. He's a coward. He should have put me on the parcel shelf.
Should have stuck it out.
Put me in that fiberglass boot. I'll be fine. So he sold it. He bought an 850 T5, which is cool, but not cool as a Camaro. My mom was always very annoyed that he had sold it. And so in the early 2010s, he sold up some cars and it was at the time very cheap for a Camaro. I think it was like 6.5 grand, 7 grand. A bright purple. It's called Purple Paradise, which is a really good TVR color. 4.5 litre Camaro. And gave it to her to use in the summer. But there was one issue. It's that my mum does not understand that there is anything other than the beginning of the throttle pedal and the end of the throttle pedal. It is in either one of those two positions. It cannot be in anything else. I wasn't there, but I was told that when they went to go and pick it up from this dealer, she inadvertently left an 11s just off the edge of the forecourt, and she left, and my dad was in a different car. And the guy in the dealership looked at my dad and went, yeah, you just make sure you're careful, yeah? Because it will do that. It will do that quite often. So she was probably doing the same thing, just tear-arsing around. But people going, Jesus, an older lady in that car just yinging around in a TVR. But yeah, that's always cool to see someone driving something they should not be driving.
Yeah. They don't fit the profile.
No, you're not correct.
You're not a Cupra person, or you're not a Clio person, or a Camaro person.
Who knows? She might be on her driveway. Just
TVR person. He's piston heads, man.
Exactly.
He's
bold.
grey hair. He's possibly slightly scruffy.
I've done the outriggers again today. Just wax oiled the map.
Taking the boat out at the weekend.
But we never know. That lady, she might be on her drive in Reading, just doing a KO4 swap.
Yeah.
On it, going KO4S in this one. Yeah, big intercooler. Got the S3 intercooler. It's much better.
Also, Lord forgive her. 180. Working on a 180.
She's actually 35.
At her big age, she should know better. Shall we move on to some news?
Let's do that.
Again, there hasn't been much. But although actually, we talked about Tokyo Auto Salon.
Yes.
Before, but now it's actually happened, and some interesting things did happen. There were things like the Mura Liberty Walk, but we've spoken about that. The most interesting thing I saw was this GR Yaris M concept.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh.
Is it cool?
It's a Yaris GR.
Hold on. The name implies.
Whoa. Say that again. It's a Yaris GR, or GR Yaris even, but mid-engine.
Whoa.
That's so cool. Clio V6 style.
Yeah. And he's wider.
As soon as that was the one thing The GR Yaris is very cool to me.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, you don't get a 3-door Yaris. The roof line is different. It's got a carbon roof. Like it's very cool. But it's the 3-cylinder engine that's just a bit like, and it's still in the front and it's 4-wheel drive. It's like, I'm sure it's very good, but that is the only like.
So what's this? So this is
a 2-liter turbo. So apparently this is part of what's. So I'll get onto the next thing after as well, which is also Toyota. Is that Toyota are coming out with a 2-liter turbo engine, 400 horsepower plus.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that engine is in the middle of this. Now they've sort of been like,
so this is kind of like a showcase.
It's a concept.
Look what we can do.
It's a concept thing, but there's
rear-wheel drive.
I can't remember. I think it might be 4.
Okay, interesting. They just took the chassis off and swapped it back. They turned it round. The rear wheels turn.
I think it's something like 420, 430. It's 400 plus horsepower.
It's quite cool.
But that in a Yaris,
mid-engine,
wee. But then the other thing is, there's been lots of talk about an MR2 or MO2 and a Celica coming back. There's, I think, what made me laugh actually. The concept is an FT-SE, the footsie.
Oh, the footsie market.
Yeah. So the footsie 100 will now be a car.
Traders, hello.
But there's a possibility, because I was like, if they're bringing an MR2 back, it's going to be like a GT86.
Yeah,
but it's going to be like 200 horsepower. Like it's going to be that.
Oh, but if it has,
but it might have this 2-liter turbo 400. This will be like a mid-engine
also
Toyota
in the early 90s, watching people snap oversteer into a tree. You know what? Let's bring that back.
You know what? 400 horsepower mid-engine.
Let's send those people home.
Let's get it. But that could be interesting.
That could be really.
It's one of the more interesting like new car developments I think I've heard.
Yeah,
it's actually a new model anyway. That's not a new version of something. So
the rest of Japanese car markets cannibalizing itself. Meanwhile, Toyota, shut up. We're making engines.
Also, I want to know what the Celica is. Probably just going to be front wheel drive, isn't it? Maybe. I know that you had like the GT4 and stuff, but like the next one,
or just pure 4-wheel drive would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah. Then they got rear wheel drive. Oh, this is cool. Toyota, you're doing it right.
But yeah, 2-liter turbo 4-pot, meant to be like a sort of Group P homology.
Cool.
Homologation special.
Yeah.
Which is just cool. They're doing the right thing. It's like there are a few people at Toyota that are still like, hang on.
Just fighting.
Let me do this.
Just wait a minute. I'm doing something.
The rest of them are like, no, but what about these hybrids and these electric cars? Yeah, but what if we put an engine in the middle of a Yaris?
Someone Toyota up high.
Yeah. So yeah, MR2 rumors. Apparently, there's rumors that it might be EV and petrol, but that the petrol would potentially be this 2-liter turbo.
Yeah.
Another thing I saw. This wasn't from the show, but have you know BYD?
Yes. Build your dreams.
Build your dreams beyond your. Yep. Have you seen that? This came out a while ago, but the car can jump.
Yes, their sports car thing.
Yeah. So they did it on a stage where the car sort of did a bunny hop.
Yeah.
I was like, it's sort of impressive, but what's that useful for? But they did a promotional video.
I saw that.
But it jumped over a pothole.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I don't think it's particularly safe on the street.
No, I like the idea that it does it without you wanting to while you're turning.
Yeah.
you just fly off.
So just a front wheel to jump. Okay, great. I've lost all steering. But also, like, you can mess that up big time.
Oh, yeah.
You jump into a pothole.
Oh, suspension is gone.
I get it. It's like it's a bit of a talking point. But I was a bit like, this is cool, but I don't think I'm ever going to use it.
Also, BYD's just loaded into a GTA server and gone, I know what we need.
Jumping cars.
Hold on. There's something I know.
All right. Click R3 when you get over that bump. You've written here some letters.
Okay, so again, this is for my wheel guys out there. At the Tokyo Auto Salon, Work Wheels decided to do an unveiling. They said, we are bringing back the Work VSKF. Now, you might not, yes, that is just letters, but everyone's seen a VSKF. In the early 2000s and 90s, they were so ugly that they became cool, if that makes sense. They were these mega hot boy chrome 5-spokes that look almost like ninja throwing stars. And they were on everything in Japan in the 90s.
Is this like VIP spec?
Kind of, yeah. They were part of that. They were part of that line of wheels. And so, because sorry Americans if you're listening, but you ruin everything in the Japanese car market.
Yeah.
The wheels were worth nothing. They were kind of a joke wheel that drifters would put on or people would put on their stance build. And then America decided, you know what? These are worth 10 grand. These are worth 5 grand. These are worth 6 grand. They're worth silly money. So people started hoarding them because the prices went up. And then work at this at Tokyo Auto Salon went, by the way, we're putting them back in production. And people are losing their minds because they've just spent 6-7 grand on a set.
Yeah.
And Work's going, yeah, we'll do them for like $2 or like $1,500. And people are not happy about it. And it's very funny watching people who are there are people claiming that if you buy the new ones, you're not a real car person because you have to respect the hustle that hoarders have put in by buying the expensive ones.
That's an interesting point.
Are you crazy?
That's wild.
Also, for some, let's be completely honest, really ugly wheels. They're cool. I like the SKS because they're dumb and cool, but they're not good. They're not a good looking wheel. They're dumb.
Also, you spent all that money on something that, you may not have thought it could be made again, but it could have been made again.
Like if I get wind that they're making perfect Alpina E31 18 replicas, my set are going on eBay tomorrow. I don't care that they're original. I just want them to look correct, and I don't want mine to be worth nothing
and to be round.
Yeah, exactly. So very funny. If have a look up at the SKF and people going mental over them.
Final bit of news. There have been other newses, but that's the news.
Less important news.
Less important news. Muse.
Yeah.
Edwin mused.
That's a deep cut.
So we spoke last week, 2 weeks ago.
The week before.
We spoke on a podcast about DCT gearbox on a BMW M5/M6.
A conspiracy.
With the V10 engine.
Yeah.
Now, we know a man.
It's Peter.
His name is Peter.
We mentioned him on the podcast.
He's from TRS Performance, and basically we spoke to him when we were up there ages ago. Brief recap. He's been working on it for perhaps 75 years.
He said upwards of a decade.
It's like just a very long time.
Yeah.
More time than most people have been working on anything.
Exactly.
And basically he's been working on getting DCTs working with downshifts. That's the whole thing. The whole thing is that everyone else has been able to get it work.
They can connect
it. They can do downshifts. It works with the dash. Everything works. Then a downshift and the gearbox is like, I
simply can't do this.
I can do it.
I won't.
But I'm just not very well.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at it. Everything else I'm very good at, but this it's a D. I'm an E.
And then the week so we recorded that podcast, and then the next week it went out, he's done it.
Yeah. I got a voice note from Peter, and I've never had that.
That's special.
Yeah, he sent me a voice note. I was like, well, either we've done something wrong, or he's done something.
And I was sitting at our desk, and Will went, "We've got a voice note from Peter," and I didn't register it. And then Will started playing it, and the moment I heard the first word, I went, "Wait, no, no way."
But basically, he said on their M6, on their Rat Dog YouTube channel, that they have got it working with downshift and upshift. And even better than that, they've said we might be able to go and drive it.
I cannot explain how excited I am. I know there are some of you listening who don't care for BMW stuff. And I'm going to be completely honest, I don't care because this is my ultimate car. I've said multiple times to Ben and Will, and I say this a lot where I'm like, I want this, I'm going to get this. But this I actually believe in my heart. If I drive this car and it works, I will sell the majority of the cars. You're not having the Beat, you're not having the M3, of my cars to buy an M6. And if Peter will let us and will let me, and I do anything he asks, if he will help me put a DCT in that car, I'll be the happiest man in the world.
Yeah, but they said they got it work. They done a long road trip to Portimao, I believe. Now the only downside with that car is because it's a track car, it's not that loud.
No,
So he said that was part of it because we watched the video and I was like, Peter, mate, talk to me about these downshifts because you're saying it's working, but I'm not hearing much.
Will and I, after the voice note, I'll be honest, we probably spent an hour and a half when we should have been working, going through every Rat Dog video, just listening, just going, oh, is it? Can you hear it there? No. Okay, carry on.
There was one, I think it was like going into a corner and there were two downshifts and we were like, that's it.
He's there.
They're the downshifts.
Yeah.
They're not loud because the car isn't loud.
Yeah.
They're the guys.
So
and that M6 is quite cool because it's like,
very cool.
It's like Club Sport.
It is.
It's
exactly.
E92 Club Sport.
That is exactly how I'd want it. It's annoying because it's the exact car that I want.
Yeah.
It's on the BBS E88. It looks lovely.
But that hopefully for maybe a second channel, maybe a main channel, we'll see what happens. But hopefully we will drive that car. And yeah, I also saw Evolve are
Getting
evolving.
Close. Really?
Evolving with their DCT thing. I think they posted a video today as we're filming. But yeah, things are moving.
I'm excited.
Things are in motion.
I'm so excited.
That's probably the most important bit of news that we've got through. Peter, mate,
shout out.
Stay in the DMs.
Also, worth noting how you know Peter's a cool guy. The beginning of the voice note had drum and bass playing in the background. And he went, sorry, let me just turn down the drum and bass. My guy.
Let me turn down the drum and bass to tell you about this thing no one's ever done before. Anyway, we move on from that important news to the most not the most important section, but Ben's section, the forum.
The forum, and I think today I'm going to press the button.
Ben's going to press the button. Here we go. Hold on, sports fans.
He's coming round.
There it is. This
Is that your voice?
Play it again.
I just don't believe it.
There it is. Will doesn't believe that's Ben's voice.
I have the audio. I have the file I used.
Can we
change it
hear
to
it
that?
unedited, please?
Not now, but for another time.
What we like to do on our podcast is we're car people, and car people can be at times hard to talk to, and especially hard to ask a question without them going, well, actually.
Why would you do that, you idiot?
So this is the section of the podcast where you listening can ask any question without any judgment. You can leave a comment below in Spotify. Even if you're listening to us on Spotify or watching us on Spotify, you can leave a comment down there, or you can leave a comment on the YouTube video that you're watching right now, and we might get to it in the next one. Ben, do you have a forum question?
Today we have a double feature. A forum question, and we have our first car conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
From one of the viewers.
Lovely.
Forum question. This is from @JimWade8201 on YouTube. What do you do with insurance when buying a car? Do you know roughly how much it will cost before buying? Brackets, do you check? When you buy a car, how do you insure it to drive it home? What if you were to buy a car and find out it's too expensive? This has always puzzled me, as it seems quite a faff. It is.
Yes.
Do you know what? I've done all those things.
Yes.
Everything you asked there is yes to all of them.
Correct.
But
that's one of the first things that Will and I ever bonded over was in the car throttle office. Everyone else had gone home from work, and we were sitting on the opposite sides of the office, and I might say to Will, what are you doing? And he'd go, I'm just running insurance quotes on cars to see if I can buy them. And I go, yeah, me too. That's exactly what I'm doing.
that was just the pastime, is to figure out where. Also, then it's like, what can I buy now, and what will I be able to afford once I get to this age?
Yeah.
And this age, it's like, right, I'm 21, but at 22, what is this like? But at 23,
I could get that.
I could get this, and then I've got these no claims. But when I hit 25,
That's the guy.
it's like now I'm at this big age of 3-0. I don't do it as much.
No.
Which is nice, because it's not. I almost buy a car and think I could probably insure this.
It's a lost art.
Yeah, I'm like, but I yearn for those days.
If you put me in my prime on a comparethemarket.com,
oh hell,
I am giving that guy hell.
yeah.
I'm pulling through. I'm looking through 70 different job titles. I'm checking which one's shaving £11 off my insurance. There is. We looked back through our old. I have an old Compare the Market account, and I had run 6,000 insurance quotes. I don't know what the time frame was. I assume over like the period of 3 or 4 years,
Couple days.
but over a couple thousand insurance quotes, because I would go in, get the result, go right, edit. What if I'm doing 4,000 miles a year? Okay, now what if I'm a gardener?
It means I get emails from, I think it's confused.com, and it says, do you still need to insure your Honda Civic?
You know what?
I've never owned a Honda Civic.
I'm gonna just while we're talking, I'm gonna see if I can find any interesting cars that have been on there.
That's what I've always done. But so the question was about buying cars. So I've been buying a car. To be fair, most of the time, whenever buying a car, I probably know roughly what the insurance is going to be.
Yeah, by the time I buy it, I've done at least 5 or 10 quotes on different years.
I have had a time when I bought that E46 M3. Sorry, I swapped a car for that E46 M3 years ago. Can't remember. I would have been 22, 23. I can't remember. And I did a quote that came back okay. Got the car. The quote ran out. I had to redo the quote, and it came back at some ridiculous price, and I couldn't get a quote from anyone. So I had to pay this ridiculous. I think it was almost £2,000. Bearing in mind, all mods declared on an Evo the year before, a month or so before. I was actually this would have been the following year actually, but on an Evo I was probably paying £1,200. And on the Focus before that, it was probably about £1,400.
Yeah,
I was paying £500 or £600 extra a year for this
for
M3.
stock M3,
and it was because I just didn't do my research.
Yeah, so if you're in the UK and you're into cars, you've probably sat there and I'm just, for the audio listeners, you might not be able to see it, but I'm just pulling up this is my emails. I've just typed in confused.com, and I'm just going to start scrolling. Will you just tell me to stop at any point? But these are all emails.
Let's have a stop. Let's see what that one
there.
is.
Hold on. Your cheapest price to insure your BMW 7 Series. Nope, never had that. Car insurance prices for your Vauxhall Corsa VXR. That was 2013.
Nice.
For your Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark IV. For your Alfa Romeo Giulia GT 1600. That's like a 1960s
Very
one.
nice.
A quote for your Suzuki Cappuccino. Your Mazda 3 MPS. Your BMW 2002 a Lancia Fulvia Coupe. They're just endless of things that I've just simply never owned, never will, but just thought,
Do you know what?
just check what the insurance might say on that.
Because it's nice to know. It's nice to know. Do you know what? If I could buy it,
What is it?
I know it's insurable, but that is, I would say it's a wise idea that before you even consider buying a car, because if you're at the stage of going to look at the car, you've already been looking at cars.
Agreed.
So before you consider even buying one, have a look. Is it insurable? Is it affordable? Also, if you really want the car, do lots of ringing around.
Agreed.
Because you can easily go on a comparison site, be put off by that price and go, oh,
yeah,
that's impossible. I've had a lot of times where and this doesn't always work, but it can do. It's worth doing. Is where you ring around companies, whether they're specialists, whether they're other companies that aren't on comparison sites, ring them, get a price, talk to a human being.
Now, there are some of the specialists. I know Adrian Flux do this, Greenlight do this, Custodian, who help out on some stuff of ours, do this. If you speak to them, it's not like a form online. They'll take into account any driving experience you might have on other cars. So I remember calling up for something and saying, well, I've driven abroad for a few years and I've been a named driver on this car. And they go, okay, we'll tell the underwriter that, and the price comes down massively. So they're though specialists are always worth checking, but also check different years of that car. That will make a difference. You might do a 2009 quote and the car comes back at 1,500. You do one on a 2010, it comes back at 1,200. Insurance in the UK is that way for no reason, but somehow it will work.
And being a bit more prepared with it. Sometimes if you buy a car and you need to insure it that day, you're in a chokehold. They got you by the castañas at that point. But often if you can say, I'm going to insure it in a week's time or 3 days time, 4 days time, and double check this. You can do this on confused.com. Open confused.com, pick a car, pick one that starts in a week or a month or a day or starts today, and the prices will be different. It shouldn't be like that, but that's the way it is.
Also, do a quote like a week before, because the quotes last for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. On the day that you're going to go and look at the car, insure it for that day, but a week beforehand, and then that quote will still be there when you go to buy the car because it's valid all of that day, and you can buy it on that day and then drive away.
Yeah.
So
insurance is a minefield, and it gets better with age.
It really does.
But it is, Also, there are good things. Like we use a temporary insurance quite a lot.
Yeah, temporary insurance.
It's like as long as you can roughly insure the insurance, don't be pushed into buying a year's policy when you buy a car. You can insure it for an hour. Like we've used Cover before, which is really good. Temp Cover, or any of those ones. Cover's particularly good because it's like it's just an app.
Yeah, instant.
It's really easy to use.
Little bit. You can call it unethical, but just a fact to be aware of is that whenever you take insurance out in the UK, you have a 14-day cooling off period, whereby you can use that insurance for 14 days. And if you cancel it before the 14 days, they have to pay you back all of your money. Yeah. But obviously they will they'll charge you fees and what such. But it does mean that you are insured for 2 weeks.
That happened with our limo. We explained that as you will. That happened not on purpose with our limo. We insured our limo, which couldn't be insured. They wanted to cancel it, so I cancelled it. And we paid, I think, £370 for the year. They refunded us, and this was insured for, was it like a week, 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that. They sent back 350 quid. Yeah. So it was £20. I know, technically it wasn't valid or whatever, but if it was, that insurance would have cost £20 for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I have a friend
cost that for a day.
I have a friend who comes back to the UK and has enough cars because he has many shit boxes like we do, where he will insure them for a week or two and then cancel it and then insure the next car for a week or two until he leaves.
I feel like there needs to be a better solution to it.
There has to be.
There just has to be a better
Mark McCann, get that insurance company going.
Let's get those forms going to the government. Let's stand up and revolt. No, but if someone could sort it, does someone start a business? Stop being so greedy. Also, stop crashing as well.
Yeah, just
stop giving the companies reasons to put prices up more than they should do.
We wouldn't need insurance if we all just decided to stop crashing.
Yeah, or if we just, do you know what?
Send a memo out.
Let's just deal with our own crashes.
Ooh, tough. It just becomes a on-site fight, and whoever wins, if you best your opponent, you don't have to pay.
If you can catch them.
Oh, that's quite good.
So if you write their car off enough,
hit and run simulator.
You're good. So if I crash a Range Rover into Ben's Clio, I'm probably going to wipe him out to the point he can't chase me, but I might be all right.
I think they've just rolled that out in Birmingham. Sorry, actually, they've had it going for
Yeah,
quite
that's
a while.
been going a while. Yeah, yeah, medieval times.
Not really okay though, is it, to crash into my car?
Well,
no.
No,
nobody
Especially-
should be crashing into anyone's
Who
cars.
would
No,
do
especially for like a colleague. That's
No,
okay.
no, who would do that? But big crasher.
So I think that's a good question. Was his name Jim?
Yes, Jim Wade or Jeremy if you're on Fish.
Jimothy? Very good question. Enjoy that. Thank you.
That's our forum question.
Do you say we have a conspiracy?
We've got a conspiracy.
Oh yeah, we have a
Ooh,
conspiracy.
here we go.
Put our conspiracy hats on. I haven't made a jingle for it yet.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracies. If you have a car conspiracy, we talked before that cars, something about cars.
Something about cars and conspiracies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have a conspiracy about motor vehicles, not general
And it has
ones.
to be about cars. It can't be conspiracy where cars were nearby.
No,
Or
I don't want.
I'm not. If I see JFK,
I don't want to hear about JFK.
just because he was in a car,
Yeah.
I'm not
Did you
hearing
know
it.
it was actually a coupe and it was all CGI'd like the moon landing?
Moon landing
to
was
be
fake
convertible.
because they actually went up in a Passat.
But if you have any normal conspiracies, just send them to me because I quite like reading them.
Oh yeah, fair actually, but don't.
Okay, Scott Warren on Spotify has said,
Hello, Scott.
my car conspiracy is that Jaguar made the terrible Ingenium engine on purpose to make more money. Having bought an XE with one in 5 years ago, having not done any research into the issues of the engine, I had to spend $2.5 grand on a new timing chain at 50,000 miles. 2 years later, whilst driving on the M40, the engine seized and I had to scrap the car and put in what was working condition, worth about 8 or 9 grand.
Now,
But why?
it doesn't feel. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it would make them enough money to warrant. Like Jaguar is a big company.
Yeah.
I don't think engine failures. Because also the damage it does to
Exactly.
the brand.
You're not buying a Jag.
Is possibly too far.
You're not buying a Jaguar.
And
after that.
now they're mashed.
Yeah.
So perhaps it hasn't worked. Obviously, it didn't work.
It all paid off.
It didn't work.
Okay,
So-
close your eyes.
Okay.
Will?
Who's that? Who's touching me?
Imagine you run a failing car brand that isn't making any money on sales of cars.
Car throttle.
But what?
Leave that one in.
Leave that in. Then to make a lot.
Sorry,
No one's buying cars. No one's buying your cars.
No one's buying cars.
But people have cars from a few years ago. No, that doesn't make sense. Wait,
What am I closing my
Why
eyes
are my
for?
eyes still closed?
hang on. That doesn't make any sense.
I might just go to sleep.
This whole thing was your idea.
What I'm trying to say is basically they knew that the sales were in a downturn, so to make a worse performing car, but it's stuff like timing chains. Like that, you could save an engine after a timing chain. That's not necessarily dead.
But are we saying that they have engineered in a weak spot?
But
Like,
if you-
like the
if you're-
Death
Sorry,
Star.
can I have my eyes now?
Give it another 20 minutes.
Might have been open.
I know. I look. I
No,
had to quickly check, and your eyes were both
Sorry.
open.
But like, imagine this, right? You're 50, 60 grand into a car, and
Yeah.
then suddenly it's still worth 30. It's maybe 20, 30, and they
Just
just
Jags probably.
yeah. But you know,
Your
what I mean?
car's now worth £8.
It's worth enough to not just scrap it.
Yeah.
Have like a little engine problem, like that's a couple of grand for them, 3 grand in their pocket, but your car's back running again, and it's now worth what it was.
But I think
Potentially worth it.
you'd make far more money if you just made a car good enough that people went, I want that.
Although-
Because it's a premium brand. People, it's a something that you aspire to own. Whereas if you hear about this sort of stuff, you're like, well, I don't aspire to own that at all.
Yeah.
But
And-
Toyotas are cheaper than Jaguars, guys.
But who's still in business?
But I do think there is some kind of I think this is conspiracy along the same lines where obviously people have the idea that modern cars in particular, are made slightly more reliable so that they die at a particular time
Yeah.
so that you need to buy a new one.
Planned obsolescence.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
iPhone spec.
Yeah.
Just like they say about iPhones, they go and say, yeah, we're going to slow your phone down or whatever.
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah. So you
new
buy a
one.
new one.
I kind of believe that. But you also have to bear in mind is that cars are built to a budget.
That's what.
So
yeah.
they're never going to be built to last.
Agreed.
Why would they build them to last 30, 40, 50 years when in actual fact, to a manufacturer, they're only really meant to reach the end of the warranty or slightly
exactly.
beyond that.
It is an end of life thing. Like
They warranty them to 100,000 miles or something. It's
Yeah.
like you wouldn't have much belief in it beyond that.
also manufacturers do things now for shareholders' profits,
Yeah.
which means build things on the cheap and get as much profit as possible.
Hmm.
But secondly, they are only building cars, and it's the same argument I always have with people over when they say, why doesn't manufacturers build cool cars anymore? It's because they're not for us. They are for people who buy new cars, and unfortunately car people don't buy that many new cars.
You buy them used.
Normal people buy new cars, so that's why they build the cars for them. It's the same reason why car manufacturers pander to China. China.
Right.
That was a shit joke. But that's why they do it, because China has an appetite for new cars.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to go for them because that's who they make money off.
Yeah.
They don't make money off me buying a 17-year-old BMW. BMW don't look at that and go, hold on, we might have a live fish on the hook here.
Yeah.
Let's get that guy.
So I don't necessarily buy that they specifically engineer that engine to be particularly unreliable, but I do buy that manufacturers might maybe not necessarily engineer in,
but not
it's to do with the budget. It's like this car costs this much to make money, therefore it isn't going to last.
Yeah.
It's not a tank. I don't know how long tanks last.
It's a great question. What's the service schedule on a tank?
On a tank.
How much oil,
I imagine
how much
that-
oil does a tank need?
Ooh,
Surely it's a
sure,
lot.
that's going to be a
I'd
lot.
like to drive a tank.
What kind of engine does a tank have?
Big boys.
V8s?
I think aren't there some big
they're like
V16s?
or like a big old diesel guy.
Yeah.
Like that. Right.
Either way, I'd just like to.
No,
Whenever I
what-
think of a tank, I think of Richard Hammond saying, "I have
He's
a
just
tank."
a person.
Yeah.
Now I have a question about this though. Surely, people though don't know about Ingenium engines who are normal, who are buying Jags.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
guys
They
who
will-
are, guys who are buying Jags and Range Rovers, because they're in Range Rovers too. They don't know.
Although, but I think they do, because that's the kind of stuff. Like, if something has a bad reputation like that, that's the kind of thing that it's the stuff we don't read as petrol heads
What car?
enthusiasts. It's like, this is that bad reviews. It's like when you go on Parker's.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
say reviews, and it'll be like owner reviews. Those owner reviews
Yeah.
aren't us. I'm not going there going, I bought a 25-year-old Jaguar XJ and it's rusty.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're going, I've had this 3 years, it had an engine problem, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't buy it as much. Although Jaguar are that was it SD V6. I was looking at Discovery 4s, same engine that's in roughly the same engine that's in Rory's Jag XJ. That's the crank snapper.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That has no fix, and they never did fix it.
So they just went,
For-
you're
for
on your
like-
own.
I can't remember how long it was. It was like a period of like 8 years or whatever. There was this V6 being made that at any moment, the snap could crank. The crank could snap, and like that's just never. That's never. It's not minor.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. And Jaguar wouldn't sell you a crank on its own.
Only
so you
the
had to
engine.
buy an engine. Which, like,
Ridiculous.
and also because of the way those cars depreciate, you're just writing cars off.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that, I was like, that's. I don't think it's as common as obviously if you go on the internet, it's going to look like everyone's had it. It's not as common,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things I looked at and was like, if that happens to me, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you're done. Like that car's scrap.
It is that's another like worthwhile point, is that the same thing that we talked about before, I think about YouTube, where you mainly hear the negativity.
Yeah.
If someone has a positive experience, they just carry on with their day. If someone has a negative experience, they will shout about it.
Yeah.
That's why if you go on the internet, you'll be like, everyone's get it. Every single car gets it.
Okay.
It's like M3s and M5s
Yeah.
where they're like, rod bearing's gone, it's done.
Yeah.
But 80% of cars
Yeah.
driving around probably don't ever
Also,
have the
some of
issue.
that, maybe this is a conspiracy as well, but some of that is done by garages and people. Obviously,
Absolutely.
the people that benefit from doing those jobs day in, day out, that they do in. What's
Do in,
happened?
day out.
Day in, day out, because people panic.
Yeah.
And then normally it's like, it doesn't even need doing.
No,
They
yeah,
just
yeah.
go, well, this is for peace of mind. So people are paying thousands of pounds or whatever it is to fix a job that may not have needed doing. I get it, because it's peace of mind. And it's one of those things that, like on the M3s, that if it fails, it's an engine.
Yeah.
And you're 6-7 grand deep into doing whatever. But it's like, it feels slightly wrong to me.
Like scaremongering.
Yeah.
But like going to that, Porsche people are terrible for that.
Yeah.
When we took this exact gearbox to some friends down the road who rebuild gearboxes and do that sort of stuff, especially with Porsches, he told me next to the one that this was being, next to this one was one that was torn down, and he said basically he could go out and get a replacement gearbox. His gearbox is dying. He could just get a replacement one for like 1,500 quid,
Yeah.
identical to what I've done. Instead, he's going to spend £7,000 or £8,000 because he wants Porsche new parts, and it will be the original matching numbers gearbox.
Yeah.
That's fear mongering in terms of price, because he's going to go, well, yeah, when I come to sell the car, no one's going to want it because it doesn't have the original gearbox. In reality, no one cares, no one knows.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to care about that.
There's a weird culture among, I've probably even done it myself, but a weird culture among people who are into cars where they always want to give you the real worst news.
Yeah.
Like if someone comes to you that is, maybe they're also into cars, but not as much, and they come and they go, oh, I've got this car, it's making this noise. It's got this problem. And you go,
that's the one with the broken lingle.
yeah, do you know what that is, mate? That's your broken spingus, mate.
Yeah, they do that
that's
all the
gonna
time.
cost you thousands of pounds. And people, they scare you into like,
Yeah,
and then 9
always.
times out of 10, it's, again, it depends on maintenance, blah, blah, blah. But I still think most of the time it's probably something fixable or not the end of the world. Whereas people go, oh, mate, I wouldn't want to do that.
Wouldn't touch that with a barge pole.
Ooh, you lucky boy. You got away with that. But it's there is a little bit of a culture around.
It's the AA man thing. Everyone always says that when an AA man turns up, they go, come, I've done about 4 of these today.
Yeah.
All of them, always doing this, all the time.
I had that Focus ST years ago. My Focus ST had this really odd problem where the power would cut. I think I don't know, something to do with the fuel sender or whatever. Never ever figured it out. But it just cut out at like 1/4 of a tank, wouldn't start. Put fuel in, wouldn't start. And he went, yeah, mate, yeah, I do these all the time. Meanwhile, I'm on Google, not a single thread about that problem. I described it every which way I could. Probably different languages, everything. No one's ever had this same exact problem. He's like, yeah, no, mate, no, every day I'm doing these.
These are terrible for this.
I just want to know what is the psychology behind, right, I have this knowledge, I'm going to use it to scare people.
Yeah. That was a crazy one. Sorry. Can we please cut to Ben staring into the ether? Bro was in a different realm.
Oh, tired tonight.
Right. We were going to do an argument. We're going to save it for next week because we've been rambling on a little bit.
And also, it's you bullying me.
It's a 2-on-1.
So I
It's
can't
a
wait
2-on-1.
to push that now.
It's not a bully, though. I'd say it's
a little bit.
It's a debate.
It's
It's an argument.
You
like
will
a normal day in the office.
you will get to enjoy that argument next week. Ben, start preparing your case, buddy.
I already give up.
Okay. Your Honor, I rest. Thank you very much for listening to the Cars Are All Everything Around Me podcast. We will see you next week when we will be doing car talks.
Car speakings.
And what such. Great.
Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.
Goodbye.